I'm Miss Farrah, Kansas. I'm witnessing for the Lord. Today we pick it up at 85. As our first parents lost Eden through the indulgence of appetite, our only hope regaining Eden is through the firm denial of appetite and passion. Abstinent, absent, abstinence in diet and control over all passions will preserve the intellect and give mental and moral vigor, enabling to bring all their propensities under the control of higher powers, and to discern between right and wrong, the sacred and common, all who have a true sense of the sacrifice made by Christ in leaving his home in heaven to come to this world, that he might by his own life show man how to resist temptation, will cheerfully and deny self and choose to be partakers with Christ of his sufferings. CD 591. The fear of the Lord's in the beginning of wisdom. Those who overcome as Christ overcame will need to constantly guard themselves against temptations of Satan. The appetite and passion should be restricted and under control of enlightened conscience, that the intellect may be unimpaired, the perceptive powers clear, so that the workings of Satan and his snares may not be interpreted to be the providence of God. Many desire the final reward and victory, which are to be given to overcomers, but are not willing to endure toil, privation, denial of self, as did the Redeemer. It is only through obedience and continual effort that we shall overcome as Christ overcame. CD 592. Controlling the appetite will prove the ruin of thousands if they had conquered on this point, they would have had moral power to gain the victory over every other temptation of Satan. But those who are slaves to appetite will fail, and perfecting Christian character, continual transgression of man for 6,000 years has brought sickness, pain, and death as its fruits. As we near close to the time, Satan's temptation to indulge appetite will be more powerful and more difficult to overcome. Testimonies for the Church, 491, 492, 1875, CD 59.3. He who cherishes the light God has given upon health reform has an important aid in the work of becoming sanctified through truth, as fitted for immortality. Christian temperance and Bible hygiene 10, Counsels on Health 22, 1890, CD 594. Relation to simple diet to spiritual discernment 119. Failure to control appetite weakens resistance to temptation 237. Weight walls of self-control not to be broken down 260. Flesh diet a hindrance to spiritual advancement 655, 656, 657, 660, 682, 683, 684, 688. Power for victory over other temptations given to those who overcome on appetite 253. Character formation hindered by proper care of stomach 719. All right, now we're going into chapter 3, moral pollution in early times. The people who lived before the flood ate animal food and gratified their lusts until the cup of iniquity was full. And God cleansed the earth of its moral pollution by a flood. CD 601. Sin prevailed since that fall. While a few have remained faithful to God, the great majority have corrupted their ways before him. Destruction of Sodom and Gomorrah was one account of the great wickedness. They have loose rein to their intemperate appetites, and to their corrupt passions, until they were so debased that their sins were so abominable that the cup of iniquity was full, and they were consumed with fire from heaven. Spiritual gifts, 4A 121, 1864, CD 602. The same sins exist in our day, which brought the wrath of God upon the world in the days of Noah. Men and women now carry their eating and drinking to gluttony and drunkenness. The prevailing sin, the indulgence of perverted appetites, inflamed the passions of men in the days of Noah, and led to general corruption, until their violence and crimes reached to heaven, and God washed the earth of its moral pollution by a flood. CD 603. The same sins of gluttony and drunkenness be numbered to the moral sensibilities of inhabitants of Sodom. So the crimes seem to delight the men and women of that wicked city. Christ thus has warned the world. Likewise also it was in the days of Lot. They did eat and drink. They bought, they sold, they planted, they builded. But the same day they went out of Sodom, it rained fire and brimstone in heaven and destroyed them all. Even thus shall it be in the day when the Son of Man is revealed. CD 604. Christ has left us with an important lesson. He does not in his teaching encourage indolence. His example was opposite of this. Christ was an earnest worker. His life was one of self-denial, diligence, perseverance, industry, and economy. He would lay before us the danger of making eating and drinking paramount. He revealed the result of giving up the indulgence of appetite. The moral powers are enfeebled so that the sin does not appear sinful. Crimes are winked at, and base passions control the mind, until general corruption roots out of the good principles and impulses that God is blaspheming. All this is a result of eating and drinking to excess. This is the very condition of things which he declares will exist at his second coming. CD 611. Will men and women be warned? Will they cherish the light, or will they become slaves to their appetite and base passions? Christ presents to us something higher to toil for them, merely what we shall eat and what we shall drink, and what wherewithal we shall be clothed. Eating, drinking, and dressing are carried to such excess that they become crimes, and are among the marked sins of the last days, and constitute a sign of Christ's soon coming. Time, money, and strength, which have the Lord's, but which he hath entrusted to us, are wasted in needless superfluities of dress and luxuries for the perverted appetite, which lessen vitality and bring suffering and decay. It's impossible to present our bodies to a living sacrifice to God when they are filled with corruption and disease by our own sinful indulgence. Testimonies for the Church, 3, 163, 164, 1873, CD 612. And tomorrow we'll be picking it up at prevailing corruptions due to unrestrained appetite. I'm Misty Arkansas, and I'm out.